Hey, good afternoon, guys. This is Research 2023, Tom Hardison's session. The inadvertently, and nothing happens by accident, inadvertently though, we accidentally recorded the Kyun's session in the True Storytelling Room, which apparently was necessary because it got a little heated and the language was a little colorful at a few moments, which is sometimes will happen in a true storytelling circle. You're going to want to listen to that session because there was some real talk in there, and especially you foundations guys are going to find that to be very helpful. And it establishes that Kyun and Sundeep are going to partner together on that rule set, and I gave very clear and explicit guidance to Kyun on what experiment I wanted him to practice with live trades on skin in the game so that he could begin the journey of trusting the rules instead of his own judgment. There were some psychological insights in that session that are priceless that you need to listen to, and I'll be adding it to the Foundations course, but you heard it from me first here. So I'm going to roll this over to Tom. You're the co-host, and the recording is underway. And this is just going to be amazing and satisfying and wise, which is why I'm looking forward to this briefing a lot. So, Tom, I yield the balance of my time to you.
All right, thank you, Ken. So I'll get this set up and let me know if this is coming across so you can see it. I see a hand up. Okay, thank you. So a little bit of context. If you want to learn more about my trading journey, history, take a look at the 2022 presentation that's in the research weekend. I published that after going through the creativity course last last year, and then put that presentation together at the beginning of January. So this is now a build off of that. So where I left that was, well, my biggest challenge is about me and managing me in this, and how do I create better outcomes? So this doesn't have the trading data in it. What it has is what I've been learning and applying in my leadership coaching work, and working to apply to myself in my trading. So I'll have an update on trading in the future and how this is working out for me. Uh, so I'll go through a context about me, my biggest challenge, 3 practices that I'm putting into to use each day, each moment, as I'm aware of that where I'm at. And what I've been learning about observing and growing ourselves as complex adaptive systems. Uh, I'll share a compass that might be useful. It provides a map of behavior as well as a compass and a gateway into exploring more deeply, and share 5 tips. So that's the outline. A quick background on me is I grew up around farming and construction and different jobs in different communities. I was born in Europe, lived there my first year, came back to the US, or came to the US and moved around a lot here. And then as I was ending high school, we moved to Venezuela and lived there for a while before I came back to college. BA in history, a range, mostly introductory, but I really appreciate perspective from different parts of the world. And I got a master's in industrial engineering focused on high technology companies. Went to work for HP for 28 years and had a wonderful experience. I'm married, have 4 sons. Youngest is 29, oldest 37. Uh, one daughter-in-law, one grandson. My parents are still living and active, which is stretching me to learn more from them and my siblings, cousins, and friends. And I'm still in the novice trader space, getting better at managing my rule sets and not changing my stops. And so making progress there. But I really realized in 2009 to 2012 that I needed to transform myself both personally and professionally. And I really didn't know how to do that. I knew I needed to do something different. And that's led me on the beginning of an ongoing journey of getting to the next plateau and seeing what I do not yet see or did not yet see, and then working to build mastery in creating better outcomes. Um, Started with Van Tharp in 2009, leadership coaching in 2013, Aikido in 2013. Got joined a day trading course with Ken in 2019, a virtual course, and began to join into calls shortly thereafter as we went into the 2020 roller coaster ride. Um, and I also am doing a lot of gardening and working with this complex adaptive organism in the middle of all these different communities and areas. I'm seeking to create better outcomes with the people around me, and just beginning to explore how do I lead myself, and how do I develop that capacity. So there are 3 key practices for me. The first is aligning my attention, intention in each moment. So really being clear about my aim. Um, what I find is often my attention is grabbed by something and not an intentional choice. So intentionally choosing where I want to focus my attention. So in trading, for example, it can be my attention gets grabbed by a price bar move when my intention is to be following the RL10 or the RL30, or the intersections between the RL10 and the RL30 and the dragon. And so being able to focus my attention and hold it on where I want to focus my attention in each moment and not get distracted by a bar move, as an example. Now, this happens to me all the time in conversation with other people. My attention can go to something that just said, and then it can go off into a thought, and I lose my presence in the moment. So the so the point about this is to just fall in love with doing the work and embrace each step of the way of, oh, I got distracted. How do I come back? And have that awareness of I got distracted and I'm back, and be able to carry that with me. So I have to observe when I get distracted back in the moment without beating myself up. I need to have compassion that, oh, yeah, that happened again. That's part of being human. Now come back because this is my intention. And then the third practice is to be very selective in what I'm choosing to work on so that I can experiment and learn and train to embody that capacity. As Ken just said, being able to get it into my hands and feet and out of my head so that it's an embodied practice that my body just knows how to do. Uh, and that takes training, and training with partners who can help me see what I'm not seeing. So those are the three practices. So observing myself as a complex adaptive system. So first key piece is what are my getting really clear. What are my desired behaviors, and what am I observing, and what are others observing that I don't see? The value of accountability and training partners and a sensei who can help me see what I do not yet see. And that helps me identify the gap that I want to work on. The next critical piece is this complex biology that I am, that often is triggered by a stimulus, external and internal, that activates my sensory motor system. And something happens before the signal in my central nervous system goes very far. So a good example of this is touch a hot pan, and before we can even know about it, our body has already pulled it away so that we limit the pain and injury to us. Uh, and that's how our sensory motor system works. It doesn't need to communicate, it just needs to act. Uh, and we're dealing with that. The central nervous system has different states it can be in. There's a lot of work around polyvagal theory by Porges, which really gets into the different states our central nervous system gets into, and that feeds the emotional, the creation of emotions. So our brain translates them into emotions, and we then create a story and narrative about what's going to happen. So an example for me in this is price bar moves, my body reacts, I'm in a trade, and now I've got an emotion about it, which could be anxiety about, oh, what did I do now? And what I'm not doing is I'm beginning to create a story first. And what I'm not doing is using my attention to come back to, okay, so I'm in past, forget that. Now I'm in. What's my intention is to manage my risk. What's appropriate to do now? What is the risk I'm in? And when am I exiting? Uh, so that's the sense making piece I've got to engage and not get caught in the story that often shows up. Behind this is just an awareness of consciousness. And a lot of what goes on is fast, automatic, intuitive, largely unconscious, out of habit and conditioned reaction. So I'm learning to become more aware of that through the awareness and aligning my attention and intention, and take advantage of the analytical plan and prepare to be ready, and to clarify the intention with my script of what am I planning to do when I'm trading. I'm planning to follow my intention by managing that in each moment, and check back, are my attention and intention aligned now or not? Behind that are different states that I cycle through. It doesn't take long. There's a line in here. So below the line is when I get into a reactive state and can get caught in my story and narrative and lose my intention. So when I find that I'm concerned, anxious, fearful, when I find that I'm frustrated or angry or starting to attack myself because of what I just did, I need to be able to recognize those states aren't helping me learn, aren't helping me develop. They're holding me back. And I need to get to the above the line creative space of being curious, playful, and creative. From there, I can actually intention to close the gap and get to better outcomes. Underneath those states are my sense of self, my identity, how I think about myself. And those create different states and different behaviors automatically, creating and reinforcing habits and conditioned responses. So I've learned to begin to dive into those, see what those are, and begin to shift those self-protective strategies and beliefs. So it's a learning journey just to get to, here's some of the territory that I need to manage and work through. So here's a compass that I use often with leaders I'm coaching. It provides a map of the behavioral territory. So around the upper half covers around the outer edge 18 different creative competencies, summarized in the 5 inner circle ones of relating, self-awareness, authenticity and integrity, systems awareness and creation, and achieving results, the actual execution, deciding and getting it done. The bottom half are a set of reactive patterns and styles, tendencies that we all develop growing up, because these help us survive, dealing with our parents, our caregivers, our teachers, maybe our first bosses, and they demonstrate these behaviors to us often. And they're summarized, and there are 11 of them around the outer ring. They're summarized into complying, to just get along and belong and not get too much attention, but make sure people are happy. The protecting of, well, I need to create distance or move away, and then can be judgmental to protect myself, because of course it's not me, it's the projection of it's someone else that is responsible for this. So I'm still safe in my own identity. Or the controlling of, I need to get this just right, so I'm going to take control. And I'm going to do it the way I think it needs to be done, even if that means I'm cutting other people out that are there to help me. And the more I overuse these reactive styles and patterns, there's an inverse correlation diagonally from the research of this, that the more I control, the less I'm able to relate and the less self-aware I am. The more I try to protect, the less I'm operating in integrity and courageous authenticity. And I also lose awareness, both about myself and the system around me. And the more I try to comply to get along, the less I actually achieve and am aware of what's really going on around me. So I find this a powerful map to locate, well, where am I right now? When I'm not aligned and operating above the line, where am I? And then how do I move to select which creative competence really best help me move north on this diagram? And then once I'm north of the line, now how do I bring a couple of competencies together for the moment and the intention I have? So that's a diagram I use. This provides perhaps a clear way to view it, but it helps me. It helps me in conversation with the leaders I work with. So 5 tips I'd want to share from my journey so far in the trading path that Ken is supporting me on as well. So the first is, I got to be clear about the outcomes I want to create, because without clear outcomes, I don't have a direction and I don't have a clear intention. And I have to decide, yes, these are the outcomes, to set that intention and to get into action. The second is, I got to commit to developing my capacity. My current capacity is generating the outcomes I'm getting right now. if I want a better outcome, I need to develop my capacity. It's not a something I'm ever done with. It's an ongoing journey toward mastery. So I need to expand and deepen my capacity to create this better outcome. The third tip is design your own practices with the words that give you meaning. Words plant seeds in our minds, and it needs to be the words that are planting the seeds that you want to nurture and grow. So while I've learned an incredible amount from Ken, and Ken's guidance continues to help me learn more, I need to find how it works with my hands and feet and how I put it into practice. I need to observe and grow myself as a complex adaptive system. I can't change it. Once I have the opportunity to grow new capacity, and I need to grow that through practice, not by thinking about it, but by executing it again and again and again. My Aikido sensei says, okay, I've showed you, you can now see it. Now give me 1,000,000. Just do it 1,000,000 times. So now we can see it become part of you. And that's the fifth step. Deliberately training with training partners comes from that ongoing pursuit of self-mastery. And there's my contact information. If you'd like to follow up, happy to have a conversation about all of this.
Let me open it up to questions from the team. Just jump on the microphone. While we're waiting for those guys. Hey, Tom, do you have I assume that there's a self-assessment instrument that leads you through plotting your preferences and so forth with that leadership circle? Is that
Yes,
fair?
there is. Yeah. In the PDF of it,
Yep.
that's on the Ruzuku, there's a link on the bottom of the page, first page that I used. In that PDF, there's a link to learn more. That'll take you to the Leadership Circle site. There's a free, if you go to that page around the Leadership Circle profile, you can scroll down the page. There's a free self-assessment. Happy to debrief that with anybody who wants to take a look at it.
Yeah, so let me ask you, while I'm thinking, a lot of times those self-reporting instruments, they ask you to adopt a point of view or put yourself in a certain circumstance and say, how do you act when you're in this role or when you're being like that? Have you had a chance to think about that as I want to think about my leadership behaviors or my decision making behaviors, my intentional decisions when I am specifically trading? Because it seems to me that a lot of guys that are successful in this business have constructed their self image as trader, that when I'm trading, I take on this persona or I adopt this power animal or I become the owl or the tortoise, whatever it may be. And then I try to implement that persona in the way that I make these decisions. And so I'm wondering if you've had any experience with that about trying to steer it towards one of our professional domains as opposed to sort of like how am I as a leader in all the areas of my life? Because my experience has been in some cases that the demands of the domain or the demands of the job require a professional mindset or a different mindset. So
Yes.
what's been your
So, so I would say that first, the Leadership Circle profile was deliberately designed around the domain of organizational leadership. Typically, larger organizations with multiple levels of management. And so the norm based, if you were to do a self-assessment, your responses in terms of frequency of use of the behaviors,
Yeah.
which is the way it's constructed, it invites you to say between never and always using a set of behaviors. How's that compare to a norm base of senior leaders in organizations?
Yeah. Am I a
So
typical of a
not
certain class?
necessarily, yeah, not necessarily aligned with trading at all. Uh, I'm starting to apply it to see how it works for me, and see which pieces work for me in this. But it isn't necessarily something that would be that has any validity for traders
Right.
that
I
I'm
think
aware of.
as a self-awareness tool, as a metaphor, is
Yeah,
what I noticed was the southern half of that circle. You know, the coping mechanisms, essentially, those all have very strong connections to sociology, group dynamics, because I'm complying,
yeah,
I am controlling, I'm reacting, all of those things. It seemed to me that as a trader, I would be thinking about, and we talked about that with Kuhn's work. How do I respond to impulses? The As social animals, we're we are very nuanced to picking up hints and allegations and to reading signs and reading the room and acting on impulse, intuition, which is really a shorthand way of saying that we are very sophisticated at detecting subtle signals of social meaning from others. So we are conditioned to respond to external stimuli from the environment about how to behave in a certain way. And so that's what we mean by the reactive nature of those behaviors. Well,
yes,
in clearly that comes from organizational leadership, but I also think that it's very strongly connected to the trading environment in which the market is the organization that I'm trying to be successful in. And I'm reacting to what the market says and what I perceive and interpret the market as saying. So that's where complying means like, well, I just got to follow my instinct. I'm complying with my instinctual behavior that is triggered. I have a typical behavior when triggered by something. And when I
mhm,
do that, when I follow the impulse to act, I'm clearly on the left hand side of that thing at 8 o'clock, which says all the complying behaviors.
yeah,
And the controlling behaviors are ones where, hey, I'm going to try to steer that impulse into some other way, but it is really an emotional response to an emotional trigger. So it seems to me that the opposite of all that reacting to emotional triggers in sociology were those creative elements at the top, which look very much like the places that we went to in the Creativity 202 course, where we are
yeah,
looking for an individual override of the emotional response. And this is so we're looking for inspiration from our higher selves, and can we implement that? So it seems to me that the journey to self mastery is creating those safe spaces in which we could practice substituting an intentional act. All of those things north of the equator were intentions, which gets back to your vertical stack of processing. At the very top, the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy was that ideal self, my intentional identity, what I am striving to be. We can think of the process of mastery of self is moving in a measured way, in a objective way, toward more like that and less like the creature from the Black Lagoon that emerges from the swamp that is purely responsive to the random signal generator of the environment. So this journey to self, this journey of self mastery, yeah, trading is part of it, but it's also all the things we do in life. And what really occurred to me, I don't mean to keep hogging the microphone. But I was thinking about how to present what we do to a much wider audience of people that are going to see our templates in the EdgeRaider software. And what the flash of insight came to me as you were talking was what leaders do is make trade-off decisions for the good of the tribe. We've been entrusted as leaders to make trade-off decisions for the good of the tribe, meaning that we can't be perfect because we have to be good enough to survive to the next existential crisis, that the leader is entrusted to make it at the most critical moments. And in the nature of our trading, we know that the best rewards come in the moments of greatest risk. So we got to make the best trade-off decision, a good enough trade-off decision, in a moment of existential crisis or in a compound critical state. Well, if you think about what a trader does, is I'm trading around a position. I either want to be long or short or not in it. So I'm making trade-off decisions. And in the areas of our lives where we make trade-off decisions, well, we do that in work and in play and in choice of spouses and life decisions and employment. And I do it on the soccer field and jiu-jitsu. But so what we're really engaging is how do we make the best trading decisions or trade-off decisions? Is we're really trying to make the best trading decisions based on our ecosystem and what we're trying to achieve. And we're trying to move away from the instinctive reactor towards the intentional actor, where we've decided who our best self is going to be, and the actual process is not perfection, but improving. So I just want to get better all the time, relentlessly, never stopping in the process of trying to get better and not holding myself to a standard of perfection. So it is very much the lived experience. And as you get more responsibility, or as the market changes, you're always in discovery learning in new areas where you didn't know that you had decisions to make. Like the first time that you stop acting impulsively, you realize there's a whole new world of learning about what kind of decisions you can make. Instead of the decision happening, so you're always in a process of learning. You're always the novice every time you're successful because you get more responsibility and it's a new area. So we have to think about a process of continuous improvement starting from where we are and then progress in the direction up and to the right towards that creative, intentional person. And we shouldn't be surprised when we are not perfect. It should be the expectation. In fact, if you're doing too good, you say, why is this so easy? This shouldn't be, they're setting you up to be, they're setting you up when it's too easy, you're being set up in a trap to make you get rid of humility. I guess I don't need to be humble because look how good I am. I've had a winning streak of X number, so that's the new norm? No, that's just the law of streaks says that sometimes that's going to happen. So you got to learn to properly assess the winning streaks as well as the losing streaks and make our decisions based on evidence, not on beliefs and feelings. That seems to me to be where that compass could be very helpful in determining and detecting where and how we want to go, to the point where I'm going to ask you to create a leadership compass self-assessment course with coaching to add to the foundations as the 5th course on how to do that in some efficient way, so that we can add that to the repertoire. I think it's that important that we have that kind of guidepost. I think it would partner nicely with the other work that you and I were doing with the team on the 75 trading skills. You could look at that as being, oh, that's just tactical trading and the skills we need for that. But the journey to mastery means that we got to learn how to deal with the frustration of we can't master it all at one time, and that's where I think this trading compass acts as a nice counterweight to the job book of trading. So let's write that as book. That's probably book 11 in the series. Is how to apply that to the trading process, and let's have that finished before 1 June. I think we got to have that done before 1 June.
Okay.
Mark on the.
Well, I'd offer couple of things that emerged for me listening to you was one, separating signal from noise,
Yeah.
which is critical to what we do in trading, and and I can comply with a bar moving, and I can follow that bar and just go with it, but that may just be noise. How do I know?
Yeah.
Eh, so complying with a moving bar, maybe not such a good decision.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, so, and then trying to control and predict that I know what's actually going to happen instead of following the signal
Yeah.
when the PSR flips to call it, okay,
Yeah.
that's good
The
for now.
bar is not the signal. The bar
Yeah,
doesn't mean anything. The bar is
right.
always noise until it crosses a threshold that we've established that says, I will treat this event as a signal. Until then, it is 100% noise. No matter where it is
Yeah,
between the red line and the green line, it is 100% noise. Now, after much study outside of the bar and after the trade is over and we have evidence and we use our head, we can decide how and when to adjust where we draw the line for signal to noise. But in the bar, it's all noise until it crosses a line, then it is signal. We got to learn to be able to not act until we act, and then we strike hard, strike fast. To
yeah.
go from nothing to something. That was the idea behind the frog system too. By the way, is
Mhm.
that a frog never moves until he has to move, and when he does, it's massive, it's decisive, and it's designed to jump far enough to get out of the striking range of all the things that historically were going to eat him. That frogs
Yeah.
evolved to escape from frog eaters of every type by the size and strength of his move. That's why there are frogs, is because most of the time that works. And the
So
biggest, strongest, best, yeah,
just like CEOs, as traders, we're focused on capital allocation and risk management,
yeah,
and we're doing it with the psychology of the market, um,
right,
and what's happening there. Similar CEOs are the psychology of the stakeholders they're serving,
yeah,
including their employees and
yeah. It's
the broader world.
what's hard for the CEO is that they have to pay attention to fundamental analysis.
Yes.
That's why they're getting paid all the big bucks, is so that they can find the fundamental analysis that matters and make a decision on a subset of all available information. They have to take the best sample of data to make the best decision, and they're getting paid to know the difference between signal and noise in their fundamental domain. We are facing exactly the same challenges they have, and that's why I would argue that learning to trade is learning to lead, because it makes you
Yes.
make the same kind of trade off decisions, which involves your psychology about how you make that decision. And so that's why I've always found a very strong correlation between the leadership and decision making training that I do for Army officers and
Mhm.
NCOs and warrant Army leaders with the kinds of decisions we got to make. So there's naturally a large element of military decision making style and process in the way I teach trading, the way I do trading is strongly related to, I mean, military decision making is 100% concerned with reward to risk and existential threats and risk management, but also seizing opportunities and being efficient while being effective.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm very interested in the leadership circle and the compass and working with you on that. So
Okay.
I
All right. Thank you.
Let's see if we get some questions from the team. Come up on the screen and start yakking, if they would. Questions or comments from the gang? It feels like we are at a place of study and reflection, and we're 45 or 50 minutes into this. So let's. What we'll do is that we're in. This one is a marathon and not a sprint for sure. So I'm looking to add this as a psychological course, probably an optional one for folks that want to explore deeply, because I do some elemental existential psychology for decision making. I see this one as an advanced decision making course being added to people who are in or who have completed the foundations course, and we'll add it there because I think it's that good. So we'll talk offline about getting that incorporated and built out of the Rizuku platform to make it easy on you too. All right. Thanks so much, Tom. I'm going to go eat some breakfast now and going to go kick a soccer ball with some kids now that it's actually warming up a little bit here in Kansas, so I'm going to take advantage of the favorable weather. And I would just say tomorrow we got a couple more sessions to do at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, so looking forward to seeing you guys there. It'll be in this room, the podcast room. So thanks so much. You look great. Appreciate the work you did on this and your willingness to share with us. Best wishes.
Certainly.
Ciao,
Have a good
everybody.
rest of your day.
Yep. Take care, guys.